And blessed to be a part of your day here in Caldwell, Idaho. Kevin Miller in the morning. We are here till 9 o'clock, saluting a great Treasure Valley city. Of course, we've got the Indian Creek Plaza right next to us here. Lots of renovations going on in Caldwell, and we will enjoy talking to you at 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Big weekend coming up. It is the Sunny Slope Trail Festival. You're right. Thank you, George, for reminding me. Sunny Slope Wine Trail Festival. Starting this weekend. Now, it is sold out, I believe. The folks at the Broadcast Center have told me this. SunnySlopeWineTrail.org. But we do have some ticket vouchers that we'll be giving away all morning long. Listen here for your chance to win. And I have them physically. So if you're in Caldwell, stop by. We'll give one away this hour if you want to go to that tomorrow night. And it sounds like a lot of fun, and we'll be talking to folks here in Caldwell. Other news of the day coming up. Maybe it's not that big of a deal to you, and that is the Bermuda Triangle. And you're thinking to yourself, Kevin Miller, what do you mean the Bermuda Triangle? It's Thursday morning. It's 6 o'clock. Why is the Bermuda Triangle so, whatchamacallit, when we're looking at the issue of the day? There's Donald Trump and Jeff Sessions. There's the tax reform going on. There's the continuing resolution. There's a lot going on. I don't know. You don't have to be a fan of George Norrie or Clyde Lewis to understand the Bermuda Triangle has fascinated so many people. If you don't know what it is, you can Google it or you can listen to me. And basically what the Bermuda Triangle is an area where boats, planes, and ships have all been lost, never to be heard from again, off the coast of Bermuda. Yeah. So, coming up, Eben Brown of Fox News Radio is going to give us an explanation of it. And as often happens with Eben, if I'm wrong, he'll correct me in front of everybody, which is always fun for me. So that is coming up. Also, big tonight, if you're a football fan, we have the first NFL football game of the season, where we have the Hall of Fame game from Canton, Ohio. Many people are excited about that. It will be interesting to see if the NFL can regain some of its lost luster when you're looking at all the people that have left because of the anthem issue. And we have many people, and my parents amongst them, that have decided not to watch the NFL, have nothing to do with the NFL, will not support the NFL. Heck, they even gave away all their NFL gear. Who does that? Unless you're committed. Now, the NFL, again, finds itself in a strange place because you have the looming specter of President Trump who says at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, you stand for the anthem or else. So that will be interesting to watch. Other news of the day, as Maggie O'Mara talked about, and we discussed yesterday, we're in the 100 deadliest days of summer, right? And the big news yesterday was we had a month of the new state law where slow drivers are getting ticketed for driving too slow. So forget about speedy. Let's go after grandma and grandpa for driving too safe and too slow. Now, that may be extreme, and remember, Matt and Caldwell corrected me on that. He thinks it's a good idea. Some of you did think it's a good idea, but I write about this. Or let's just say I marginally attempt to write about this at KIDOTalkRadio.com. And I'm saying if we're going to go after the slow people, and by the way, in a state of, 1.5, almost 2 million people with this new law, 2 people have been ticketed. 2 people have been ticketed. 3 people have been given warnings. So was it really necessary? In my opinion, it wasn't. What is necessary, though, is to find a way to police the aggressive driving, the speeding, everything that happens on 84, the connector. Look, I'm traveling, and I love being in Canyon County, much closer to the Miller House West than the city of Boise. Although weirdly, it was about the same distance to the Flying M than it was to the Broadcast Center. But the drive was a little different, and I'll explain that to you in a minute. Joining us now from Fox News Radio, and we've actually started the show with a tease about him, the ever insightful Eben Brown, to talk about the Bermuda Triangle. And Eben, I don't know about you. You don't have to be a fan of Leonard Nimoy's old show, In Search Of, to always be fascinated growing up about the secrets of the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah, well, it's something that sort of captured the imaginations or nightmares of many people of being this, supernatural zone of the Atlantic Ocean where ships don't come out of and the like. It's actually very well transversed all the time. It's actually where major shipping routes converge, which has led to the perception that a lot of ships think there, and that's just because there happen to be more ships there than other parts of the ocean. So there's more chances that something could go wrong. But some scientists have speculated that the reason why ships have run into some really rough patches through the Bermuda Triangle has to do more with something called rogue waves, which are these. It's a newer phenomenon. They were first really discovered off the South African coast in the late 90s. But what they are these essentially waves, big kind of almost like tidal wave-looking waves that can get to about 100 feet high. And they're the result of weather systems elsewhere in the ocean, but they happen to converge in this, what they call the Bermuda Triangle, which is this zone that goes from Bermuda over to the Bahamas and off the coast of Florida and then over towards Puerto Rico. And these waves will converge in this 700,000 square foot patch of ocean, and they can really overtake a shipping vessel or something that's generally lower and flatter than most other vessels.
And again, I might be a little before your time on that, but there was like I said, Leonard Nimoy would always do his shows In Search Of, where he would, look at these things. But I thought like planes went down there as well. As I said before you came on, I said, if I'm wrong, Eben will correct me.
I think there are reports of planes getting lost while traveling the Caribbean, and I think that their disappearances are attributed or maybe misattributed to the Bermuda Triangle. But mostly the fear had been with regard to vessels, ocean-faring vessels. Even just a couple of years ago, we had a major loss of a cruise ship. Excuse me, not a cruise ship, a cargo ship called the El Faro. And El Faro went down while it was traveling from Jacksonville to Puerto Rico, and it also happened to be in the middle of a hurricane. But it went down in that same area, and so the area is just notorious for bad things happening to ships. But perhaps maybe this idea of these so-called rogue waves, which can be again as high as 100 feet. Could really be the reason behind why there have been so many dangers in that patch of ocean.
I don't know about you, but I would never go there, Eben. You're a brave young man.
I kind of live not too far from it, considering where I am. I have not been on a ship really through it, but I've flown through it. I think generally you are pretty safe, but there are, if there are bad weather conditions, you can expect perhaps maybe an added danger in that neck of the woods, as we've learned throughout the years, as we've learned even as recently as a couple of years ago with El Faro. El Faro sank again in the middle of a hurricane, but in an area where the water was perhaps in worse shape than it would have been elsewhere.
Eben, we appreciate you. Thank you.
You got it.
Eben Brown, Fox News Radio. Remember, when you're listening to Fox News on the radio, you're listening to KIDO Talk Radio. We're at the Flying M Coffee Shop here in Caldwell this morning. Very fired up. This weekend, it will be the Sunny Slope Wine Trail Festival at the Indian Creek Plaza here in Caldwell. Much more on that coming up. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And I'll tell you a little bit about what the Senate's up to. Yes, they're actually working. But back to my theory, and again, if you're looking for something to do this morning, you can go to KIDOTalkRadio.com. Believe me, it will help me justify my existence to my corporate overlords if you click on the story that I wrote marginally about traffic issues. Why are we going after the slow drivers when we've got the fast drivers? And we can't really blame law enforcement, as we talked about earlier in the week, with the massive amount of people coming in. The police, law enforcement it's tough to keep up because there are more people to police. And as I said, and I'm sure you've seen this before, 5 years ago, there were more quote-unquote speed traps than we see today. No speed traps, no problem. So this morning I'm on Old State Street, and instead of taking a left turn, is that appropriate, into Boise, I take a right towards Middleton, and I'm driving along, bebopping along, listening to Gordon Deal and George Norrie, alone in my thoughts. There's someone comes up behind me, and all of a sudden they pass me, and I'm not even to Middleton yet. And I'm thinking, is that really necessary at 4:45 in the morning? And yet we have people that have to be somewhere in their minds. Texting, being distracted, reckless. My point being, there are laws on the books about that already. It's tough to enforce. Maybe we have to enforce ourselves. Maybe we have to drive more defensively. That's where the issue, that's where the focus should be. And the legislature can pass this feel-good legislation. But in reality, do you feel safer now that if people are driving, quote-unquote, too slow in the left-hand lane, they can get a ticket? Now, what is too slow? Is that going 5 miles under the speed limit? Is that going the speed limit? And really, does the speed limit exist anymore? Does it? I don't know. I don't know if the speed limit exists anymore. You go on 84, even the connector, where it's supposed to be 45-ish before it hits 60-ish, and we're so conditioned to speed. If someone's not going right when we want to, we get frustrated. So I think it's, again, a challenge. And if this new law saves lives, great. But in reality, in a state of over 1 million people, 2 tickets and 3 warnings, and you're going to say, is that newsworthy? I think it is to a point, especially when we're talking about the 100 deadliest days of summer, which is where I want to focus on. And again, we've got a lot to talk about here. 580-5436, 580-KID. We've got a lot to talk about. However, when you're thinking about the 100 deadliest days of summer, I'd like to hear your thoughts on the road. I'd like to hear your thoughts about safety. And how safe do you feel on the road? I know it's a little touchy-feely, but we would love to hear from you on that. And, look, we've got a lot of political stuff. We didn't get to the 3D guns. We'll get to that. We'll take your phone calls. Lots of guests today, thanks to Ray Amaya. We've got lots of people on site here. We've got George. We've got Logan. We've got tickets to the Sunny Slope Wine Trail Festival. First person that comes now between now and 7 at the Flying M here in Caldwell, you're going to get a pair of tickets or a voucher for a pair of tickets for this weekend's sold-out event. Coming up next, sports, gambling, and spending. Does it all make sense? And your thoughts on aggressive driving. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller, live in Caldwell on KIDO Talk Radio. And starting your day very early from Caldwell, stop by and see us. We'd love to get your thoughts on the day promoting the Sunny Slope Wine Trail Festival. Bev Williamson with us now. Bev, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Not bad. Thank you for coming in early. It's always tough to book those 6 a.m. guests. And people always say, well, what's the best time? And really, this is when people are waking up and starting their days. So we appreciate you joining us. If you could, give us some insight into what's happening this weekend here in the Treasure Valley. Now.
Sure. Well, and thanks again for having me. I really appreciate it. So I've been, my family's winery has been a member of the Sunny Slope Wine Trail since its inception. We're a group of 14 wineries now that get together as a way to market our region. And one thing that we do every year is our festival. This is our one fundraiser that we do to build up marketing dollars so that we can make maps and brochures, do advertising to let people know where we are, because some people still don't know that there's really great Idaho wine. But this event has grown over the years, and it's one thing that we've done where we always come together in one location, because as a trail, you're normally going out and you're driving around having to find individual wineries. But here we all come together in one location so you can check us all out at one stop. Right. And over the years, this event has really, really grown. This year, we're expecting 500 people. It is sold out. We're going to be featuring the Mojo Boogie Band. They're amazing. There's going to be, like I said, 14 different wineries. Guests get to enjoy 12 wine samples in their commemorative Sunny Slope Wine Trail Festival glass. And we'll have several food trucks. I believe we have about 5 different food trucks that are going to be on site that day. And it's just, 9 art vendors. They're all local art vendors. So we want to make sure it's something that's handcrafted by people who live, artisans that live in the valley.
Sure. And
that kind of gets paired with the wine, so you get to kind of wander throughout the booths and check that out. And it's going to be on the new Indian Creek Plaza, which we're really excited to be on because it just opened almost, I want to say 3 weeks ago,
right
maybe
next
just
door
2.
to us, right?
Yeah, we're looking at it right out the window now. It's beautiful. The band gets to set up on the stage, which we're pretty excited about, and then the wineries will be kind of lining the plaza. So it's a really nice event.
It is. Now, can you hang with me for a minute?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're going to take some calls, and then we're going to come back to you because I don't know much about wine, but I've seen Sideways a million times, and I'm sure you get that all the time. So,
Merlot, what are you going to do?
Just consider me your Miles here this morning.
Okay.
So, Bev, if you could stand by for a minute, let's go to Matt in Caldwell on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Kevin. Hey, yeah, we were talking about the subject yesterday, early in the morning, and you know what, I went back and did some of my homework. I went and talked to a couple of my officer friends, asked them their opinion about the law. They actually love it. The reason why they like it so much is it gets to really target the people that are obstructing traffic. Don't get me wrong. They will go after people that are speeding on the freeway. Anything over 9 miles an hour over the posted speed limit is what they call excessively speeding, and they would rather give that $120 ticket out than the regular $90 ticket that they would serve to, just an infraction of just speeding over the speed limit. But I was asking them, so why would the state come out with this law to go after slower drivers on the freeway? Well, to put it in their perspective, is they consider those the more dangerous drivers, the ones that are really everybody else has to watch out for, and they're not paying attention to the driving. And those are the ones that statistically cause more accidents. And this is coming from my cop friends. They were, I was asking them about it, and they're explaining in detail why they like that law. Now they don't have to focus so much on the person that's going 10 miles over the speed limit versus someone that's going 10 miles under the speed limit, which happens a lot. And also the people that are driving in a left-hand lane, that are actually holding up traffic, they can go after them now. Before they wouldn't. It wasn't, unless they were actually excessively speeding, they weren't allowed to go after them. This was from their police chiefs, from their superiors saying, it's not worth our time, don't even go after them. Will the tickets increase? More than likely. I mean, once the pressure gets out there and the word gets out there that it's working, I bet you we'll see a lot more tickets than just 2.
Well, Matt, obviously you've done more research on the subject than I have, which is no shock to the listening audience.
Yes. Well, I wanted to be prepared, and I can see why some people would, not like the idea that only 2 tickets have been served since, they've enforced it July 1st. Also, the merging traffic. Almost every single on-ramp onto the freeway, you are able to get up to 65 miles an hour with no problems. There's a lot of people entering the freeway at 45 miles an hour, making a screeching stop. What is everybody going to start doing? They have to merge left for the merging traffic. So if you can get those people that are actually obstructing the left-hand lane, the free-flowing lane, do it. Oh, and the last part I wanted to mention, anytime an officer has to pull someone over on the freeway, it is a hazard. It's going to slow down traffic. Everybody's going to be paying more attention to the officer than the actual traffic conditions in front of them, and more than likely, another accident will happen. I talked to you a couple months ago about one way on my commute to work going eastbound. and there
Right.
were 7 accidents between Eagle Road and Meridian just from people not paying attention to 2 officers that had people pulled over for speeding.
Well, again, I think it's an underreported situation, the amount of accidents and the excessive speeding. Matt, I appreciate your insight this morning, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people reacting to your report here at KIDO Talk Radio.
Have a good night.
Good night. Maybe he's going to bed. Before we get to Max, let's go to traffic and weather together.
Every Gabbard.
Let's go to Max in Garden City with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Max.
Good morning, sir. This is very timely. We're talking about aggressive driving, right? I read a study here, but New York University.
I'm sorry,
They
I was
said
answering your
that-
question. Go ahead.
Okay, New York University did a study back in 2016 that says that 68% of aggressive drivers are women. That surprised me. It also said that 58% of distracted driving, women. That was just interesting. Apparently, they combed all these national stats from departments of transportation, and those are their figures. It just surprised me. I would have thought, some guy with a chaw of tobacco in his pickup truck would have been more apt to be an aggressive driver than a soccer mom in a minivan. I guess I was wrong.
Like I said, the most well-researched audience in all of radio right here with Kevin Miller every morning. Do you agree with that assessment? Do you agree with that assessment?
I don't know. Do your ratings support it? See you later, buddy. Take care. Good show. Tuning out.
Tuning out? Does that mean they just call in, say their piece, and leave? All right, much more coming up next. I was going to say yesterday. I better have some more coffee here at the Flying M in Caldwell. Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Kevin.
And we continue on. Kevin Miller in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO.
To all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun.
The Big Burger is turning 50. So where did the Big Mac come from? A franchise owner in Pittsburgh, Jim Delegati, convinced the company to let him test the burger at his restaurants. He later admitted he got the idea from a similar burger sold by the Big Boy restaurant chain. Now, for the golden anniversary, the Golden Arches is offering what's being called a Mac coin. Starting Thursday, if you buy a Big Mac, you'll be given a coin redeemable for another Big Mac. The coins will come in 5 designs. Each one will commemorate one of the double-decker sandwich's 5 decades. Just don't let the Hamburglar take them. Tom Rigotti, Fox News.
And having worked in Pittsburgh, that was a big deal that's where the Big Mac did originate from. And if you've ever been to a Shoney's or Bob's Big Boy, their Big Boy sandwich certainly does resemble the Big Mac. But if you go to McDonald's today, and you just heard if you buy a Big Mac, you'll get a coin for a free Big Mac. I thought they were just going to give you a free Big Mac, but I'm sure Tom Rigotti has more on the story than I do. Speaking of the story, we're here at the Flying M Coffee Shop in Caldwell, getting ready for the Sunny Slope Wine Trail Festival. Bev Williamson with us once again. We were just getting into wine, and then we went into talking about cars and vehicles and such. It's an eclectic mix in the morning. Welcome back.
Well, thank you for having me. Appreciate you having me.
So I mentioned, one of the great movies of all time.
Yes, Sideways.
Sideways. And, you have people that love wine so much, they do these tours. Where is Idaho in this? We have, famous athletes in Washington, Drew Bledsoe, Dan Marino doing this. In California, obviously. Your family's been doing this for years.
Correct.
So where are we at?
So Idaho is definitely a growing industry in the wine world. We've been a little bit undiscovered until more recently. In fact, I think there's a current vote for your best AVA. AVA is a wine region, and it's through USA Today, and Idaho's one of the choices that you can go on and vote for. So, it's coming along. Our family started growing grapes in 1998, and I think we were like the 7th or the 10th winery at that time to hold a winery permit when we finally started making wine, because it takes a couple years before the grapes are ready. So back in the day, there wasn't really a reason to come out. We were begging people to stop in our tasting room. We were offering free wine samples. And from that beginning, when there was maybe, 12, 15 wineries in the entire state, now we're up to 55 plus wineries, and you've got vineyards going in the ground that people planting varieties that people would have never thought you could grow in Idaho. Some of that took time to realize, okay, this is the type of climate we have, this is the type of soil we have, these grapes will grow here. And then there's always the joke of, the old saying is, if a tree falls in the woods, and nobody hears it, did it really fall? Well, if you make wine in Idaho and nobody tried it, did you really make wine? Now that there's a lot of people moving to this state and who have really wonderful taste, they're discovering that Idaho wine is delicious, and it's equivalent to those wines that you're seeing coming out of California, out of Washington, out of Oregon, and even internationally. We've lots of Idaho wines have gone to competitions and placed well, if not, golds and double golds.
Yeah, how is it a challenge being a domestic wine producer versus the foreign wine producers, and how does that play out? Because you mentioned the overseas stuff, and everyone goes, "Oh, domestic, this, that, and the other." Mm-hmm. But really, is there a difference? What's the?
Well, yes, there's always going to be a little bit of a difference. Wine is very regional as far as style and flavor is concerned. So there's regions in France where you're only allowed to grow certain types of grapes, and you have to put a certain type of name on your label, and there's lots of rigidity to that. That's kind of more of the old world style, where it's very, very precise depending on the region. Here in the new world, coming up from California all the way up to the coast, and even in the Northeast, wine is a little bit more fluid, meaning that while there's definitely blends and things that are standards, like say a GSM, it's a Grenache, Mourvedre.
Look, when you start doing multi-syllables, you lose me, okay?
So you can have a cookie cutter type of blend, and it has to have a certain name.
Sure.
But
Right.
we get to have more fun here in the new world.
Right.
And because of that, people are trying new things. Maybe it's not blending. Maybe it's the type of equipment that they're using that old world style wouldn't necessarily allow. Now, I'm not saying that old world style is bad. There's some wonderful qualities to those wines coming out of there. But what I love seeing coming out of Idaho, because of our high mountain desert region, meaning we're really, really hot, but luckily we're one of the few states that has lots of water. Compared to California, we're overrunning with water. And because we have irrigation, so we can control the amount of water that we put on the grapes, we get some really big fruit wines. And we have some great volcanic soil that adds a minerality to the flavor. So these
does
are
that with the work for potatoes as well? I heard Jim Risch talking about this. He said that the soil is perfect for growing potatoes, and with the irrigation, that seems to...
It's huge, actually. Right. Idaho is definitely an agricultural state for a reason. We have amazing soils because the Treasure Valley is kind of the shoreline of the ancient lake. I think it was like Lake Idahana was the name of it. And when it essentially drained out, it left all these silt deposits. And that's a whole lot of organic matter and minerals that just got left here. And again, we have a pretty good supply of water, but we also have really great high temperatures in the summertime. We do get kind of cold in the wintertime, but we're not talking like negative degree temperatures typically. We saw that, in 2017, but that was really rare. It's like a 30-year rare. So we can grow a lot of different types of crops in this area because of the climate that we have and because of the soils that we have. So grapes just happens to be one of them that people are just now discovering are really well suited.
We'll talk more about that in a minute. Pete, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Kevin, I had a marketing suggestion for the wine folks. Some of us single types like myself have a hard time going through a whole bottle of wine before it's been there too long. I like a glass with dinner, but I'm not ready to put down an entire bottle in a few days. And I
Well,
like
they're
those.
listening to your marketing suggestions.
My marketing suggestion is I like those little 4-packs of wine, but I don't see any from any local wineries. The ones with the 4 small bottles. It's a real convenient way to have a glass of wine or two with dinner.
Well, let me ask Bev that right now. So Pete's saying that because he's single, by the time he goes through a whole bottle of wine, it goes bad. So, Pete, one more time, 4 singles, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the little 4-packs that you see from some of the California wineries.
Right, you would like that for Idaho.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a market for that, but...
I didn't quite hear the question all the way, but I'm assuming he's talking about packaging, and is there a possibility to change up the packaging to where it's more suitable for smaller servings?
Right, you have like 4 smaller servings instead of a big one. Kind of, yes. You're not listening. That's okay. Nobody listens anyway, so you fit right in with all of us.
Sorry, it's kind of loud.
No, I'm with you. But
so, yes, there is new options in packaging these days. Wine used to be very traditional, where it only had to go in a glass bottle with a traditional cork. Things are changing very rapidly, and you're going to see a lot of Idaho wineries starting to look at other methods. Some wineries are offering growler fills, so you can go get fresh wine right out of the barrel, that you fill your growler and you take it home and you can go fill it back up. This is kind of a sustainable idea. A lot of wineries...
So the growler would actually, though, like with water, it would keep it good for...
Well, okay, for standard, I usually say
like
you've
you're
got
the
about...
expert here now. Fried chicken, I think I have you, but wine... You're our go-to person here.
Well, I'll take a step back real quick and say, when you open a bottle of wine, you've got about 2 to 3 days, if it's a red wine, out on the counter before it starts to lose its flavor. Definitely, you want to put a good seal on that. If you have a wine pump, this is a device that can either push out with inert gas or pump out the oxygen out of the bottle so that the wine doesn't oxidize, which makes it taste flat. Then you have a longer lifespan with that bottle. You might last up to a week on the counter. If it's a white wine, I totally recommend you put it in the fridge, again, with a good seal, and that will maintain that bright, sparkly flavor that a lot of crisp white wines can have. But back to the packaging discussion, there is a lot of options that are coming out of wineries, especially a lot of the young, hip ones, where you're putting wine in cans, so you can take it on the river with you or take it camping. You don't have to worry about that glass bottle breaking on the shore or the river or whatever. So there's smaller serving options that are coming around. It's a little bit harder for the smaller winery, but...
Well, you bring up a good point, and again, I don't really live life. I just watch it on TV and talk about it on the radio, but and Pete, you might want to consider this until there are other options, but I did see what you described is something that some type of seal, and Kevin O'Leary, the wine expert there, he was having fun with it, but there are items that you can buy at the store that would help preserve your wine.
Right, and they range anywhere from like $7 to like $100 to $1,000. There's lots of different types of systems. I like the one, I believe there's one called VacuVin, that you literally put a little specialized plug in the mouth of the bottle, and you use a pump where you use it to, like a reverse of a bicycle pump, where you pump the oxygen out of the bottle, and it essentially keeps the wine from oxidizing and preserves the wine a little bit longer.
Pete?
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah, like I said, what I like about the 4-packs is I unscrew the lid, pour the wine in the wine glass, drink it, and I'm done. You know, I'm lazy, and the whole idea of keeping a big bottle in the refrigerator or on the whatever, all I'm saying is that the little 4-packs that I can get in the grocery store are really convenient, and it would be kind of neat to see Idaho wines in those.
Well, I was just going to say, yeah, I'm thinking a lot of wineries that are coming around these days are really looking at alternative packaging because, just like you, people consume wine differently. So it's something that we very much need to look into and make experiments, see what works with the small wineries that are coming out.
Yeah, and canned wine would work too. You know that it doesn't.
Well, let me just say this because we don't have the headphones for Bev. So canned wine, is that a possibility?
Yes. So there's even some in Idaho that are already canning wine. It sounds kind of funny to say canned wine, but it's like a beer can, but there's wine inside. I had one from, I think it was Talaya or Coiled, which is 2 different wineries from Garden City. It was delicious. It's amazing. they're able to preserve the flavor and keep it very bright and fresh while using that can. And then I love how portable it is, because I can take it to the Shakespeare Festival, I can take it camping, I can take it on the river. It's fantastic.
Hey, Pete, thank you for the call.
Thank you.
580-5436, 580-KIDO. Bev, when we talk about the business aspect of farming and everything else, it's refreshing to hear that more people are buying fields to farm as opposed to, we're losing so much of our agriculture as well.
That's something that has definitely concerned my family. We've been farming here since 1909, and we've seen a giant change in the Treasure Valley. And I'm two-sided on this thought process, because there's a bit of a thought process in the agricultural world where farmers buy property, and that is their investment. That's their nest egg. And as long as they can make a profit from it, that's great. And if their children want to take over and farm on that, wonderful, they'll pass it on. But unfortunately, we're seeing a lot less young people going into agriculture. And so these farmers who have no other nest egg to fall back on in their old age, sometimes they're forced to sell the farm just so that they can retire and take care of themselves in their old age. I can't say we can take that away from them, because they really don't have any other options. You're not going to make a lot of money farming anyways. So if their property is their only way to survive, then they might need to do that. But I do think it's a big shame that some really wonderful farmland is being eaten up by houses.
Right.
It helps me sell wine for more people to move in the state of Idaho, but at the same time, I mean, that soil out there is practically gold. It's some of the best soil you're going to find in the Northwest for growing, and it's getting covered up in houses.
Bev, the event is sold out tomorrow, right?
Correct. Yes, we're very excited. We were just talking a couple days ago. 2 years ago, I think we had 250 people that we were just kind of begging to come to the festival, and now we have 500, and it's sold out a week before the event.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
What about, can people still come by? What can they do?
So unfortunately, we did not anticipate this much interest in the event, so we only have 500 glasses, and that's part of the ticket includes a commemorative glass.
Right.
So while we do have some designated driver tickets available at the gate, where you can come in and get a bottle of water and walk through, enjoy the plaza.
Well, that's still good.
That's something,
Right.
And that's available even for people who want to bring the kids, because the splash pad will be going. But again, it's $10 to get through. You get a bottle of water. But I do not have any more glasses or passports.
Good way to hang out and really get a taste of Idaho wine.
It's
even
amazing.
Right. Just
Right.
to get a vibe for it. People that are just moving in.
Exactly. There's 12 different wineries that you get to see. They're all unique, and they all have wonderful personalities behind them. So it's an easy, quick way to check them all out without having to drive all around the county.
That's this weekend in Caldwell.
Correct. It's Friday from 6 to 9 p.m.
All right. Thank you, Bev.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Mm-hmm.
You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. All right, here we are at the Flying M Coffee Shop in Caldwell. And by the way, if you're in the area, we have the final tickets for the Sunny Slope Wine Trail Festival. It is sold out tomorrow. We would love for you to come by. We've got some tickets for you to win just by stopping by. It's early this morning, but those of you listening right now on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, repeat after me, 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. You're up rolling already, so we'd love to see our friends from Caldwell stop by here. And by the way, this coffee is incredible. A great atmosphere here at the Flying M. I urge you to stop by and check it out. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave.